Welcome to the LDN Radio Show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elsiegood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose Naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. Today we're joined by Professor Leanne Rasar, who's a professor of music and music therapy. Thank you for joining us today, Leanna.
Hey.
This is really exciting and something that I think our listeners will find very beneficial. Could you explain your background, who you are, what it is you do, and how you help people?
Sure. I started off doing music therapy in 1978 in my internship at the Children's Hospital in New Orleans, working as a music therapist. And it was a rehab hospital initially, but became an acute care hospital that did surgeries and then that saw people with everything from cystic fibrosis to different kinds of oncology issues and muscular dystrophy and orthopedic issues, and just a real comprehensive children's hospital. Then I worked in private practice and worked in a company that was actually started by orthopedic surgeons and physical therapists in New Orleans. And I started programs in over 30 hospitals in New Orleans. And then I came to teach at the University of Wisconsin. And I have been doing things in the community here. I work in Western Wisconsin Music and Medicine, which is, again, a comprehensive music therapy company. We see all kinds of patients. But I have some special areas of research that I've done through the university and also apart from the university. So I'm able to take my students with me into the community. And for 36 years, I've been going into the jail and the juvenile detention center and nursing homes and hospitals and group homes and people's private homes doing music therapy in a variety of venues.
Wow. I won't ask what you do in your spare time.
I play music.
So explain to us how music therapy works.
It's different in each setting. I do anger management in the jail, so I could give you an example of something that we may do. I may use a song they know. They tend to know in the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. So I may change it to my anger walks tonight, my anger stalks, my anger talks, my anger walks tonight. And then I don't use the same tune. I really change it up to what they say, but I have them fill in. This is what my anger wants me to think. So they think about when they're angry, what thoughts in their head are different from when they're not angry. And they can say whatever they want. And then I will end it by saying, but I don't have to be in anger, think, but I will make a song up from what they share. Those words, they can put the words on paper and then I make a song up and put it in there. And then this is what my anger wants me to feel. So they think about the emotions they have when they're angry. And again, I make a song up, but I don't have to walk with anger's rope around my heel. And then this is what my anger wants me to say. So they might not know what they say when they're angry, but the people that live in the cell blocks with them, they know what they say when they're angry. And so they can tell them if they don't know. And so we look at that. You talk differently when you're angry. You say different words. You have different phrases. You talk with pressured speech. You might have your eyes start darting back and forth, or you might start pacing when you walk. Their cellmates know exactly what they do when they're angry, and they can tell them if they're not aware. And so we talk about that. And this is what my anger wants me to say, but I don't have to talk in the anger way would be my ending for it. And then the next thing they would do is, this is what my anger wants me to do. And then they can talk about what they have to be careful and not follow through on, trying to have impulse control. And then I can say, but I don't have to myself, I can be true. So we stop at that point and say, well, if this is what your anger wants you to think and feel and say and do, who have you become? And they'll usually say, well, I've become a monster, So then we say, this is what or who my anger wants me to become, and we can talk about that. And then from there, we can, go into a session where they've identified the issues that they're dealing with. They've looked at how their typical patterns are, and we can talk about what patterns would you like to have rather than the ones that you have made habits, and so that way you cannot become the monster because you're not letting your anger control you. You're controlling your anger. So that's an example of anger management with people in a hospital setting. There may be people who are confined to their beds and they're really sick, and we get a consult to go and see them at bedside. So we're doing music for comfort or for support. We may do their favorite songs for them. With breathing issues, we may use harmonicas. We may melody notes. It doesn't have any significant pulmonary benefits. But if you play by long slow tones, or if you play with chugging in succession, like you do in blues playing, like that into the harmonica, then you can make a 200% increase in inspiratory force almost immediately. And that's unheard of from a statistical perspective, but that's expected. And inspiratory force is half of the measure of peak flow. So you're affecting two different measures, and some of the significant measures. You have inspiratory and expiratory force, peak flow. You have vital capacity. Some people would use total lung volume, but those four measures you can look at from a pulmonary function test, and then you can see the progress that's made with them before and after playing the harmonica, and it's very impressive. So we might use harmonicas for somebody who has breathing problems. We might use speech therapy techniques with people who have had a stroke and they might not be able to sing, but they can to speak, but they are able to sing. So we can help them learn how to make the singing become speech, or we can use their ability to sing to turn it into speech. It doesn't work with rote singing for people. Some people won't have the potential to do that, and rote singing is totally different. So we don't want to give false hope that just because you have rote singing and you can sing songs that you know the words for by memory, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have word recall on demand. But there's a technique called melodic intonation therapy, where we take the hand opposite the damaged side of the brain, and then we pattern out, I am hungry. So they can visually see it, they can feel it, they can hear the auditory pitch, they can hear the auditory rhythm. You're giving the brain those four different cues, and you can help them learn to say important phrases, and then you can help them with word recall on demand through that technique. So there are just so many different kinds of things that we can do with our patients. Those are just a few examples.
What about patients that find difficulty with sleeping? Are you able to assist with that?
Yes, we can use music for lullabies. I love the work that Cherie Ross has done with a company called Music for Dreaming. It's out of Melbourne, Australia. And I had created an internship in Melbourne for the NICU for a student who was really interested in working with music in the NICU. I thought they had the best program there when Helen Schumark was their director for music therapy, and created an internship with her. So my student went there, and that happened to be the same place where Cherie Ross lived, and she was doing music for dreaming, which are lullabies. So she creates the lullabies and has them performed by people with the properties of the music in mind that would induce sleep. So you have homogeneous music, you have slow music, you have a steady tempo, you don't have a lot of different kinds of instruments, you don't have a lot of different kinds of pitches, and it's very beautiful, relaxing music. On her website, you can listen to examples and get an idea of what it's like, but that can help anybody go to sleep, not just the babies. The important thing for her is that it's safe for the babies, because in a NICU, you don't want to present music too soon. Their nervous system can't handle it neurologically, and you don't want to have them have damage because you presented music too soon. So she was able to look at music that would be safe for the infants. And I like to use it with all ages. When I would take it to the hospital, when I would get their old-timey cassettes, now you can download it, but when I had old-timey cassettes and we would take them into the hospital, or CDs, the people who were listening would fall asleep. So at the nurse's station, there would be people there who was like, oh, I can't even stay awake with this music on. It really works. But it's very calming. It's not just helping you go to sleep, it's also calming. So you can learn, if you have stress in your life, if you have anxiety, you can learn about the properties of music from those lullabies. It's a teaching tool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some people tell me that they find it difficult to go to sleep because they can't turn off. Their mind is racing and the thoughts just keep coming, which prevent them from falling asleep.
when you focus on the music, then you can tune out the other thoughts. And music is one of the things that does demand attention. But you can also engage in music. If you did something like body percussion is going to make you wide awake, but it can help you to focus your attention in the here and now on the music. And then you could use something like a musical mood induction to entrain away from the more energetic awake thoughts to be able to calm down and go to sleep. With musical mood induction, what we do is we use music to reflect your current mood state. So if you're really agitated, we would play music that sounds like that. If you're really depressed, we would play music that reflects that. And then gradually over a 20-minute period, we would use the music to help people calm down and come to a neutral state. And we might even have them try to go to the opposite state in another 20 minutes. So you could go from sad to happy, but you would just want to get to neutral in 20 minutes. So by vectoring the mood of the music, gradually you're able to have the person entrained to the mood of the music. So you can do that with the energy level also. So you can do that with capturing your thoughts, being focused on the music, and then having the music become more relaxed and more sleep inducing.
Mm-hmm. So really it's retraining the brain, isn't it? Which is like your computer, isn't it? Really,
that's a great example.
Resetting it. Yes, it's really interesting. So give us some examples of what you do in the hospitals for people that have chronic conditions.
It depends on what they are, but if they have a long-term issue, we can help them find music that's going to help them on a daily basis in their routine. And then we can also find music that's going to help them if they have an acute crisis and they need something. So we do relapse prevention tapes, and we do relaxation tapes, or we can do pain prevention tapes. We can do things to help their muscles relax. There's all different kinds of relaxation. We may do a playlist of songs to help their mind relax, and have songs that have positive thoughts and not negative thoughts, songs that have positive associations for them and are not going to have a negative meaning associated with it from them, songs that are safe that they would choose. So then they can listen to those songs to help occupy their time when they're at risk for whatever their chronic issue is. We also can do that with a redirection. If you have an addiction, we can have people use that to redirect away from their addiction. The music usually plays a role in the addiction, and when they self-medicate with an addiction, they also will have music paired with that. So there's an association with the music with that. So we can pull them out. And in the same way that we do that with an addiction, we can do that with chronic issues. So we use a relapse prevention tape to help them not get into the trouble areas. And we use music for that. We also can use music for them. In terms of redirecting, we can use music for them to creatively write lyrics or compose music, or if they play an instrument, to improvise on the instrument that they play. It gives them a way to occupy their time in a purposeful way that is productive and healthy rather than destructive, but it also focuses their thoughts. It focuses away from whatever their issue is.
Well, I'm sure we have lots of people listening to this who are very curious and have loads of questions. Now we have, and I'll put the details in the bottom of the video, a webinar where you're going to do a 1-hour presentation, and then we invite people to submit their questions live, so you can address them directly. So I think that will be very, very interesting for people, and it will give them a chance to think of what it is they would like to learn. On a personal note, I've got MS, and certain muscles go into spasm, and it's like cramp, but the muscle just locks completely. Very, very painful, but it doesn't relax. And I had several bouts of it in calf muscles, but also in my bladder, because your bladder's a muscle. And for 5 months, it went into spasm. And the pain was agonizing, especially if I tried to lay down, because the bladder hangs inside your body like a bell. So when you lay down, it comes back on itself. And the only relief I could get, and I was having like 4 baths a night, was sitting in a very warm bath. And there was nothing that would ease this pain. I just had to wait, and 5 months, you can imagine, I thought it was going to last forever. Would music have been able to have helped with that? For my
There's
body
potential
to...
that it could. I can't promise that it would,
No,
but
no,
there is
no.
potential because when you use certain properties of music, it can break up a muscle spasm or break up the tension. So if the music was strong enough for you to be able to focus on it and have your attention be on the focus for the property of the music that could do that. I could play a dissonant chord on the piano. I can demonstrate this in the video that I make for you. If I play a dissonant chord and I have somebody squeeze their hands, and then I resolve that dissonant chord to more consonant chord, which would be relaxing, going from a tension sound of the music to a relaxing sound of the music, you can feel it. And so you can kind of let go and relax with your hands. It cues you to have that relaxation factor. There are also some properties of music that will help with muscle spasms sometimes when you do something like a glissando, something like that. And if you do dotted rhythm, sometimes that can help with muscle spasm. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum. So I can play some examples like that in my demonstration when I do the voiceover PowerPoint, and people can maybe try to do something along with what I demonstrate.
Well, I find it absolutely fascinating. And in yoga, can't remember, but you can have music bowls, can't you? That you run
Are you thinking about the singing bowls?
the singing bowls, yes. Does that work similarly?
I don't know that it works similarly to what music therapy does. It's a very different technique in different philosophical belief systems. There's different ways of using music, and so we're mainly using music from the neuroscience system, and it's different from what it would be with a yoga system.
Yes, but I was just thinking that is a sound, isn't it?
It is a sound, but how sound is processed in the brain is very different. If you get into things like white noise, we used to use white noise for trauma. All the trauma waiting rooms used to have a white noise machine. And now we know that white noise does not help organize the brain. And there's even some studies that have been suggesting that it might cause damage. So looking at different aspects of some of the relaxation techniques or some of the more frequently advertised aspects for relaxation using music are actually not healthy or not safe. So we're looking at that now. There's new research coming out for that now.
Oh, that's
I can include some of that also in what I send in print.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. Well, we'll leave it there, and we look forward to seeing your presentation and asking you loads of questions.
I would like to say one more thing because I didn't
Yes.
mention dementia, but music helps with memory. And so when we work with people who have dementia or other forms of memory loss, the music has the memories associated with it. So the music can bring back those event memories. It can bring back your personality memories of who you are as a person. And then it can even bring back speech and words and your ability to sing along on a song, even if you don't understand what the words mean. So for people who may have different kinds of aphasia or different types of memory loss, the music can bring the person back. And that's a really important piece. And I will have demonstration examples of that, as well as gait training. If you have had Parkinson's or you have something where the steady beat of the music can help your gait, it's amazing to see the before and after with the music. So I can put examples like that into the video I prepare.
And you reminded me, back in the 70s, I was a Glenn Campbell's fan. And Glenn Campbell got dementia, and I was watching a documentary on his life. Have you seen it?
I have seen that, and I tracked with his daughter as she was performing with him through all that time. I didn't just watch the documentary, but I did watch that very closely. Yes.
I mean, it was amazing, wasn't it? Because, I mean, he'd been playing music all his life, and his dementia was really bad. You gave him a guitar, you put him on the stage, the music played, and he was as good as he ever was, singing, playing, he knew all the words. In fact, he actually stopped his daughter when they played something out of tune, and he said, no, that should have been a D sharp or whatever, and made them start again. But he was completely with it. It was just amazing that he couldn't function, could he? And until he had the music, and then everything.
I have some personal experiences with that. The person at our university who built the wind division up and really helped our department grow started a faculty Dixieland jazz band that I played in. He recruited me when I first came here from New Orleans to play in that. So I was really close friends with him. He got dementia. And he had started a concert band that I played in the community just so when he retired, he would have a project to do. And he played clarinet, played it very well. He had already started to volunteer with me in nursing homes because his wife's sister had gone into a nursing home. So he was already volunteering and thought he would continue that with his retirement. Well, he ended up in that same nursing home. And he didn't even remember how to put the clarinet together. But if I put it together for him, once he had it in his hands with the haptic memory of touching it, then he could play anything. And we continued to take him with us on road trips, spending the night in hotels and playing gigs in other parts of the state, and playing for the Viennese Ball here. And sometimes he would be ready to go home to his wife. I got to get home to Edith, and I would say, we're going to play in another 5 minutes. Don't you want to stay and play? Oh yeah, I want to play. And I would have to continue to do that all night to keep him thinking we're going to go there next, but he was able to play, and it was just amazing for everybody to see that when he couldn't even have conversations and was totally unable to dress himself and take care of himself, he still could play the music and do a great job.
Yeah.
And I have another example of a person who taught himself to play harmonica after he had dementia, had never played before. And he played by ear, so he could bend the tones. He could play in any key on one harmonica. He didn't have to have harmonicas in all different keys. He could play on one harmonica and do it. He did a great job. And he had been a professor at the university. And he also had volunteered at that nursing home because his mother-in-law mother-in-law and father-in-law had been there at that nursing home. So he was in the same nursing home where they were, and he played harmonica beautifully and gave concerts.
That's really fascinating. I don't really think I've got a musical bone in my body.
Everybody's a musician. You can sing, you can hum, you can dance, you can move.
I can hum.
And humming stimulates the vagal nerve, and so it's a great calming. All mothers across the world will sing the descending minor third to calm down. And they rock back and forth with it. And the rocking is a rhythmic stimulus that adds to the calming effect to get the babies to sleep. So we teach people who are in stress situations to do that on their own, to hum for themselves and to rock.
Oh, that's interesting.
And we've done a lot of research with harp and kalimbas and steel pan because they have the properties of both relaxing and at the same time stimulating. It's unusual to have something that does both at once, and they do both at once. So those are also helpful.
Fascinating. Well, once again, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.